Watch your heads!
I think you'll really like this one.
Off to the front yet again.
Catch!
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Have her done in a jiffy.
We got a job to do.
Getting to work.
Nothing personal, I assure you.
Prepare to fight, if you've any honor.
Blackbrook Vale. The name itself embodied infamy. Meve arrived expecting misty ravines, decrepit trees bound in spiders' webs and swarms of bats. What she saw was a warmly gurgling stream and the valley's gentle slopes blanketed in crocus blooms. Only a village of abandoned, ruined huts and a cemetery stretching to the horizon behind it attested to the valley's grim past.
The village seems shrouded in a guise. Be not deceived,
said the Queen.
Reynard, some men to search the environs for any sign of life.
The blood-curdling roar that came from the ruins a moment later proved the Queen's caution warranted beyond any doubt.
Protect the settlers!
Never fear! I shall protect you!
Sod it. Sod it all.
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch.
Not supposed to be any smoke.
I smell a leak.
The unworthy shall be punished.
For you, pal! Anything.
This artist will be reaping black bloodhounds.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
What do you want of me?
Likely the last, that one. Should be safe now.
Following the victory, the settlers' hopes seemed renewed. Could the beasts they felled have killed the previous lot of colonists? Perhaps the curse that had long hung over Blackbrook Vale was at last broken.
We thank you, Your Majesty.
The settlers' leader said, slipping the satchel from his shoulder.
You've granted us new hope. And a new home.
The dwarves had rolled up their sleeves, were prepared to go at the huts to repair them, when one of their number cried out.
Hold! There's something here. Something reeky.
A voice most familiar, thought Meve. Yes, for it belonged to Barnabas, the rescued inventor. The gnome had elbowed his way to the fore, stood on his toes, extended his nose, and inhaled through it like a pointing hound seeking out wildlife. Ignoring all queries, Barnabas had then sat down on the brook bank, filled a glass flask with water, and was now holding it up against the sunlight, dipping into it the tip of his tongue and some strange scraps of paper extracted from the depths of the pockets of his patched coat. Finally, Barnabas stood, brushed his backside clean, and announced his findings.
Well, we know with some certainty the reason for the settlers' demise. 'Twere not beasts, no. They prowled in later, drawn by fresh graves. 'Twas the water. Oh, roll your eyes and whirl your fingers all you want, and then peer at the brook. Nary a fish. All poisoned by subterranean fumes.
The dwarves hemmed, hawed, and grumbled, and were a heartbeat from abandoning the Vale for good. Then Barnabas reached into his satchel and extracted a device of his own making he termed an aqua purificator. That is to say, a water cleaner, as odd as it may seem.
You need but siphon water through this straw. Then drink up, worry-free.
Thus Meve rode out of Blackbrook Vale, deep satisfaction in her heart. The dwarves extolled her for being bold, shrewd, and wise, while Gabor ensured this praise would likewise reach the meaty ears of Elder Hoog.
We're the dwarves of Mount Carbon, hoo-hoo-ha, hoo-hoo-ha. And 2 hammers is our sign, is our sign.
The rumors Gabor had overheard were true. Scouts returned with news of a cavern at whose mouth lay rotted logs, an indication that something of great weight may have been rolled inside. Chests full of gold, for instance. Then again, paw tracks clearly showed some beasts had made the cave their home.
Right. Decision time. Enter or scramble back down.
said Gascon, rubbing his hands together for warmth.
Please hurry. This frost is downright biting.
We've scaled this high. Foolish we'd be to descend empty-handed. Fall in behind me!
The Queen took the fore, sword in one hand, torch in the other. The flickering flames' glow illuminated the cave's interior, casting long shadows. Meve was certain some horror would leap at her at any moment. And she was not at all wrong.
Anyone here struggle with strong reservations when entering monster-infested pits? Asking for a friend.
Enough chit-chat. Draw your weapon. This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
All right, that's no problem.
As ordered.
Don't like this.
I smell a leak. You mad? Don't say that! Company! Forward march!
You must sweat like a swine in that jacket.
I fear not, for faith guides me.
Yes, I'm on it.
treasure trove ought to be close now. Come on.
As soon as the last beast had fallen, the Lyrians took to seeking out the treasure. Soldiers dispersed throughout the caverns in a rush, penetrating every last corner. Finally, one called out.
Got it! Got the treasure right here! Treasure! Shiny stuff!
A number of steel-reinforced chests lay up against the cavern wall. Meve blew the dust from the lid of one and lifted it with some difficulty. She had hoped for gold and jewels, bars of Mahakaman steel at the least. Instead, she saw thousands of time-tarnished copper coins with a hole through their centre.
What's this bloody crap? Tokens of some sort?
Aye, that's right. Holy Guldens, we call them. They're, currency in Mahakam. Get our wages in them. Use them to cop victuals and hooch.
What of arms, armour, tools?
Nah, all that's given to us. Clan provides it. Is that what you need? Weapons? Oh, feel the Egypt now. Brought you here for no reason.
Yet these tokens, they can be exchanged for other coin, can they not? Temerian orens or Novigrad crowns?
Aye, doable in theory, but not at all clever. Rates are crap. See, the elders keep 'em low to make life difficult for dwarven folk. Discourage 'em from leaving Mahakam.
What's this? Common dwarves use no gold? You cannot be serious.
Yet I am. What good's gold to them? Clan gives them all they need. And victuals and hooch beyond need, they get for tokens.
Yet you trade with humans. Gold coin you take for your goods, the coin must serve a purpose. What is it?
We hoard it all. In vaults. Great piles. Down bottom lie ducats dating from the reign of that dozy ham-shanker King Dagrid.
And you do not put it to use? Acquire anything for it? Then it's true what folks say, that you love gold too much to part with it. Hoard it for pleasure, as dragons do.
Point of fact. That there's pure drivel. Gold's a metal like any other, just yellow. We hoard it for our safety.
Your safety? I fear again, I simply don't follow.
Couldn't it be simpler? Soon as human folk get it in their heads we's a thorn in their side, we'll spend it. All of it, in a jiffy. Excess coin supply, that's called. Matter of days, gold'll be worth less than sawdust. And you're tossing banks and economies, bam, on their arses. There'll be nothing left of them. They'll cave in faster than a mine shaft with rotten props. Why are you all ogling me? With human folk for neighbours, we dwarves got to be damn vigilant, as sheep round wolves.
So how can these tokens serve me?
We must trade them. Even should we get a pittance, it will be something. The soldiers demand their pay.
Ach, your bums out the windy. Fighting men want full dixies and tankards of hooch. Coins but a means to that end.
What do you suggest then?
As I've been saying, the tokens we use to purchase nourishment and mead, and what you've got in those chests, why, that'll do to fund a feast the likes of which Mahakam's not seen since Brewer was sworn in as Elder-in-Chief. The fighting men'll eat and drink their fill, carouse about and forget their due and pay right quick. And invite the local dwarves to feast with you, and the clans'll look kinder on you too.
Caution be damned.
Your Grace, I feel obliged to remind you we are at war with Nilfgaard, and every copper...
Should go to building our army, I know. But we live but once, Reynard. Sir Gabor, take the tokens, and arrange me a feast so grand that Ebdahi himself shall hear us revel.
As Meve's force could not possibly fit in a tavern, the feast was laid out in a storehouse. Crates arranged in rows served as tables and benches, while the windows were festooned with lion's foot and passiflower. Great barrels of mead, cognac, and vodka were rolled in, and when the soldiers saw this, they broke out in cheers and laughter that lasted till dawn.
Pour us another round, you lovable Lyrian bastards!
For he's a jolly good a jolly good dwarf.
There was food and drink enough for the dwarves of the pass, who, with Meve's men, raised tankards in hand and voices in song the night through. To see them sharing tales and playing cards, one would not believe that anywhere down the mountains, through woods and across plains, humans and dwarves might, for the softest slight, leap at each other. murder in their eyes.
We would. Get up. I would, Your Majesty.
Curse of Blackbrook Vale's been undone!
Riding past a mine, Meve noticed a group of miners gathered around the entrance to a shaft. Frost had settled on their moustaches and beards, suggesting they had been there for some time. The Queen summoned Gabor and asked him to determine the reason for this sit-in. He returned after a few minutes and announced the most curious thing.
They're waiting for the knocking to stop.
Meve's frown prompted Gabor to explain in greater detail.
According to our laws, dwarves can't go into a mine if there's knocking coming from inside. We're obliged to wait for the ruckus to quieten down.
Ah, yes. Our own miners share this superstition.
Reynard interjected.
They say the knocking is that of a treasurer gnome, a kind of mine ghost.
With all due respect, your miners are dimwits.
Gabor said, patting Reynard on the shoulder.
Knocking means an imminent and abrupt discharge of the potential pliable energy of rock formations. In other words, ye ken, a rock burst. Except usually it's all done in a day or two, whereas these lads have been waiting going on 2 weeks. Foreman's grown impatient. He'd like to send someone down the shaft, have him see what's at issue, but, well, the code forbids us from doing anything of the sort.
If in this manner I can gain favour among your brethren,
sighed the Queen, dismounting.
So be it. I shall descend and see what the problem is.
The shaft was too narrow to fit an entire army, so Meve and a small unit of men entered the mine, miners' lamps in hand and hearts in their mouths. The rhythmic knocking coming from the bowels of the mountains, distorted and multiplied, was unnerving. Soon the company arrived at the place that seemed the source of the knocking. Gabor put his ear to the rock and listened for several moments in silence, then struck the wall with all his might. The wall crumbled with a crash, opening a passage into another corridor, from which sprang numerous foes.
Did you hear something? What was that?
My gnome senses are telling me. Those definitely aren't ghosts.
My last breath.
Discipline shall bring us victory!
Sod it. Sod it all.
Who goes there? Drop your weapons!
Nay, you drop yours! Get into work.
Watch your heads! The unworthy shall be punished. Catch!
Who just grabbed me?
Oh, apologies, Meve. I thought you were Reynard.
Aye. Should have listened to the old lady.
What? Oh, yes, I'm on it.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Have her done in a jiffy.
Reynard! Are we winning? I can't see a bloody thing!
Stop! We surrender!
Both sides were surprised. Both fought in the weak light of torches, nearly down on hands and knees. In the end, the Queen emerged victorious, and as soon as she had returned her sword to its sheath, she asked the new prisoners a question that was on everyone's mind.
Who the devils are you?
The captives looked at each other in disbelief, as if before them stood a ghost. Finally, one of them managed to choke out a response.
Your Highness, we're your subjects.
Meve recognized the accent at once. The men came from Rivia. But what were they doing so far from home? According to the prisoner's account, after the Nilfgaardians' invasion of their kingdom, terrible poverty gripped the land. Seeking bread, some desperate inhabitants had gone to the mountains of Mahakam, engaging in wildcat mining in search of precious ores. Without asking the dwarves what they thought of this.
You know yourself, my queen,
explained one captured Riv.
They guard their treasure real jealous-like, don't care a whit about the suffering of others. They see us starving down in valley and don't lift a stubby finger.
Sadly, the Rivians had dug close to existing corridors. When Gabor destroyed the wall that stood between them and the dwarves, they were convinced they were being attacked by monsters, so they raised arms in self-defense.
Meve, 'tis a tough nut to ken,
said Gabor.
But let's nae kid ourselves. These men are thieves, and we must hand them over to the Mahakaman Guard.
So they may do what? Sentence them to hard labor, or hang them at once?
Said Reynard, his usual calm shaken and his voice raised.
These are your subjects, Queen. They coveted their neighbors' goods, true, but only because they had nought themselves.
The foreman wished for the knocking to stop,
said the Queen.
and so it shall. As for you, go back to Rivia, and tell all their queen shall soon return, leading an army.
The grateful Rivs quickly packed up their tools and left the mountains. Meve had no doubt Bruva Hoog would soon learn of the affair and would certainly not approve of her decision. Yet she preferred to face the Elder's wrath than send her subjects to a dwarven prison, or possibly to their death. The sound of approaching hoofbeats made Meve turn to see Reynard spurring on his panting horse, galloping at a breakneck speed towards her.
Ill tidings I bring, Your Grace.
Clearly. Glad tidings never arrive with such urgency.
Our scouts captured a Nilfgaardian messenger. He was traveling in disguise, and by night. When he realized his capture was imminent, he strove to destroy the letters he carried. We were able to salvage some, in parts.
Anything of interest?
Yes, there is, I fear. Your Majesty, you must listen. Consider your offer accepted. Direct Meve and her force to the agreed site. We await their arrival. Your reward shall be as agreed. Hail, Keritsa.
A traitor. We might have expected as much. Nilfgaard has shown amply that it abides only by the rules it sets. Since they have not proved able to defeat me in the field, in open battle, they seek other means. I suppose the scroll bears no name.
It does not, Your Grace.
The messenger. Have you questioned him?
Naturally, Your Grace. Alas, he knows not to whom the letter is directed. He was to leave it in an agreed spot.
I take it tidings of the whole affair have spread throughout the force?
Yes, Your Majesty. The witnesses were too many to keep this fact a secret.
We must thus assume the traitor in our ranks knows it as well, and will make no attempt to retrieve the scroll. A dead end. Have we any other leads or clues?
None, I fear, Your Majesty. We must be alert. Keep a keen eye on events as they unfold, and exercise great caution in forging new acquaintances.
Very well. Eyes wide open, all senses attuned. Yours in particular, Reynard.
Of course, my liege.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. Aye.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Should have listened to me, old lady.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
this harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
Thing about slings, they hide well.
Meve's force neared Davor's abyss. Signs of beastly feasting were not hard to find. Countless paw and claw tracks were impressed in the blood-stained snow. Among the boulders, bones picked clean were strewn about. Gascon lifted one from the ground.
Empty inside,
He said.
Something sucked out the marrow.
Meve soldiers feigned indifference to the grisly sight. They marched on, their stepped rhythm unwavering, a song on their lips. Yet hearing a slight tremolo in their voices, Meve knew they merely sought to drown out their fear. A moment later, a commander's horn sounded, the signal to halt. The Queen galloped to the fore of the column and found herself at the edge of a vast, round hole in the ground. She could not see the bottom. Meve drew her reins tight to prevent her mount from taking even one step forward.
What is this? A crater? A desiccated lake?
A mine of the strip variety.
Gabor explained.
Treasures we picked and shoveled for here. Diamonds. Till we happened on the beasts, that is.
What now?
Orion's a dam. Holds back a lake. If we can break it, water'll rush in, fill the abyss and the tunnels from which the beasts emerge. Just need to get around the mine first. Way down's on the other side.
Meve squinted and gazed into the distance. Indeed, there was the dam. And at its foot, a swarm of beasts roiled about. Her soldiers gazed at their queen expectantly, their arms at the ready. She knew well they would rush into battle, in spite of their fear.
Gabor!
Meve cried out over the whirling wind.
Have you bards here in Mahakam?
Course, Your Grace!
Then we shall give them good reason to compose this day, on the themes of courage, of heroism, of Lyria! Gee up!
And with that cry, the queen spurred her mount, grabbed a banner, and raising it high over her head, rushed headlong at the horrid swarm.
Here's the way down! We need to break through and destroy the dam!
I'll fight to my last breath!
All right, that's no problem.
You must sweat like a swine in that jacket.
As ordered.
You mad? Don't shake that!
Company! Forward march!
This could hurt.
Aye.
A knight should help. Our codex commands it.
Your Grace, monsters approach from all sides.
Sorry, turnips back for an encore.
Should have listened to me old lady.
Excellent! The dam's about to give!
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
It worked! Let the North Stunners flounder!
Excellent work!
And indeed, bards sang of this battle soon after. For no claws or fangs could break through the wall of shields the Lyrians raised that day. And no scales could protect the beasts from the Lyrians' stinging arrows and blades.
Fight! Do not relent! Let us show these beasts! It is they who should fear us!
The Queen shouted. In the end, the beasts turned to flee, yet Meve's force cut off any chance of escape. A solid wall of men began to push the monsters ever closer to the edge of Davor's abyss. Pressed from all sides, the horrors began slipping over the precipice, screeching terribly as they fell. Silence came at last. The Queen stood at the edge of the precipice, breathing heavily, leaning on her sword. From the depths of the mine came muted growls and groans.
Let's flood the damn hole,
hissed Gabor,
before any other shite crawls out of it.
A rush of icy water suddenly rose, then just as abruptly plunged into the mine, flooding the pit. And where once lay Davor's abyss, now lay Davor's pond. Meve descended back into the pass, exhausted and covered in beastly blood, yet also exceedingly pleased. She was one step closer to dwarven support in the war against Nilfgaard. Once the Lyrians had put some distance between themselves and the now destroyed monster lair, Meve ordered her men to pitch camp. Then she sent the quartermaster off for food and drink. The soldiers lit campfires, then set aside their weapons. Soon after, lively music and song could be heard throughout the camp.
Your Majesty,
Reynard said from behind Meve's back.
A messenger from the Elder-in-Chief.
The Queen turned to see a dwarf in a richly adorned jerkin and a shako with golden seams. She stifled her laugh into a smile and lifted her chin proudly, expecting praise and a pledge of aid in the war against Nilfgaard.
My lady, your daring deeds have come to the Elder's attention,
said the dwarf in a measured voice.
He's positively irate and demands an explanation.
Irate? But why? I and my men, we've aided you greatly.
Elder Hoog awaits at the Long Bridge. You'd be wise not to keep him there any length of time.
And with that, all the Queen's enthusiasm for a celebration was instantly gone. She waited until the fires expired and the songs died down, then gave the order to march.
Frozen. All. Only the banner moves, blown by the wind.
Downright poetic. Prime material for a ballad. Perhaps even a whole saga.
Gazing towards the horizon, Meve noticed a dark shape outlined against the mantle of snow that lay on the ground. It proved a tower, toppled and broken in pieces. Around it lay the ruins of other buildings, blocks hewn out of basalt rock protruding from the permafrost.
That'd be the Clan Vidmar ruins,
said Gabor, hollering over the wind.
Rich ones had their clan seat here till earth tremors turned all into dust. Hundreds of dwarves lived here once, and now, not a living soul.
Help! Save me!
On the contrary, there was someone midst the ruins, and said someone was clearly in trouble. Meve ordered her men to find the unfortunate soul. They returned moments later, leading a dwarf whose teeth chattered. They had found him in a ruined building where he'd sought shelter from ghouls. Judging by his appearance, the dwarf had spent the better part of a week there.
Marco Vidmar, they call me,
he said, patting down unkempt hair that seemed to reach in all directions.
I came here seeking a family heirloom, lost in the tremors and the chaos they caused. I ken the chamber where it ought to be, but, well, beasts made their lair there. I cannot drive them off on my own. But bold warriors like you ought to cut them down in a jiffy. So, will you help?
I too have lost my home, estate,
said the Queen.
So I understand well what you feel. I shall help you recover your heirloom. Call it a whim.
Mirko Vidmar's face lit up. Though he'd spent a week besieged and eating stale biscuits, and though there was a hoarfrost in his beard, he quickly trotted to the front of the column and led the Lyrian soldiers to the underground chamber. As promised, beasts awaited there.
From there they come! Drive them back!
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Catch! Getting to work.
Discipline shall bring us victory!
I smell a leak.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
All right, that's no problem.
A knight should help. Our codex commands it.
And just when you thought things were about to get dull.
Let's get a move on before any others show up.
As soon as the fight was done, Mirko Vidmar ran towards a crate that stood on a pedestal, slipping on the now bloody floor. When the dwarf lifted the lid, precious stones spilled out.
Your heirloom? This?
Asked the Queen, rather puzzled.
I thought a pipe that belonged to your grandfather more likely.
Seems to me Brother Mirko wasn't wholly candid with us. This here's no heirloom, no family souvenir. It's the treasure trove of Clan Vidmar. We thought it gone for good.
Pressed for the truth, Mirko admitted no family sentiment had prompted this expedition. The dwarf had planned to leave Mahakam and start a new life among humans. Yet he did not wish to do so without sizable capital.
I can't stand to stay here a moment longer. The days, all of them, they're identical. Rise with the first cockscrow, march in double file to the latrine, crap on command, 12 hours down the shaft and home to sleep.
Mirko complained.
Want a wifey? Put in an application. In triplicate. Care to snip your beard? Elders got to approve it. You want to add buttermilk, not cream to your mushroom soup? Clan council's got to debate it. How's a dwarf not to get balmy?
I understand the lad, no two ways about it.
Gabor sighed.
But I feel it's my duty to remind yous that what Mirko's going and doing here, well, there are laws. Treasure's due the Elder-in-Chief, not to Mirko, that's one. Second, any dwarf that wants to leave Mahakam can't take nothing but his breeches, his dixie and his coat. So, brief like, consider well afore you make your decision, Your Grace.
When I was a lass of but 12 summers, my mother ordered me to go to a ball in a pink crinoline dress. In it I resembled a meringue pastry.
Meve smiled at the memory.
So I cut it into ribbons and fled out my bedroom window.
But what's that got to do with?
What I wish to say, Gabor, is that I understand him. And though it be against your laws, I shall allow him to take the treasure and leave.
Mirko Vidmar had tears in his eyes as he thanked the Queen. Then he heaved the crate onto his back, and deeply bent over under its weight, he trudged off towards human lands. The Lyrians rode a narrow, winding path along the rocky ridge. To one side were ice-covered boulders, to the other, a chasm hundreds of feet deep.
They could have at least erected some barriers,
complained Gascon, knocking snow from his cap.
Got plans for that?
Gabor said.
Just need to decide how high to make them.
What?
Think. Should they be the height of your average dwarf, or a human? The debate's gone on for 20 years. On the one hand, you've got...
Gabor did not finish his discussion. He was interrupted by the Baba Ghazi that jumped down from the rocks.
Archers, shoot! Aim for underbelly!
Meve soldiers made quick work of the lone monster. But the sound of battle spooked the horses harnessed to one of the wagons.
Whoa there! Whoa, damn it!
The driver tried to rein in the animals, but could not. They dragged him into the chasm along with his cart and the soldiers riding in it. They landed a few dozen feet below on a rocky outcropping. A moment later, Baba Ghazis swarmed everywhere.
Did you see how they fared? Anyone left alive?
Asked Meve, leaning over the cliff edge.
Worry more about their cargo.
Gascon replied.
They were also carrying chests of gold.
Blast. We can't get down there. Too steep and the snow keeps falling.
We can lower ourselves down a line. But without armor, shields, or heavy weapons, otherwise it will snap.
And the Baba Ghazis?
The Queen said, brow raised.
We shan't kill them with daggers. They're too thick of armor.
We'll have to try. Or continue on our way.
You only live once.
Meve sighed.
Gascon, round up some volunteers and let us move out.
Moments later, the Queen was lowering herself down a line straight towards the gaping maw of a Barbagazi. Her only armor, a woolen shirt.
Careful! No one try to be a hero!
I'll fight at your side, Your Majesty!
Her Majesty is exceptional.
The Commissar will hear. As ordered. You mad? Don't shake that!
Don't like this.
Oh, could murder a pint.
Oh, that was close.
Bereft of sword and shield, Meve could not withstand a single blow. She thus danced atop the frozen snow, deftly dodging the Barbagazi's lightning-fast strikes, while delivering but a few well-aimed hits of her own, to their eyes, ears, and gaping jaws. When the last monster fell lifeless to the ground, Meve walked up to the shattered wagon. The soldiers it had carried were bruised, frostbitten, but alive.
Your Grace, we were sure you'd leave us.
A good ruler never abandons her folk.
Nor her gold.
Gascon interjected, while securing a rope to a chest. Soon enough, all were safely back on the path. The admiration Meve saw in her soldiers' eyes was in itself sufficient reward for her difficult battle.
sailed into troubled waters, mate.
My duty.
Welcome to me inn.
Fresh snow today. Gotta blow before too long in a rush down.
Meve now witnessed a sorry sight. A mass funeral for miners killed due to a tragic convergence of events. Their lead caskets lay upon the snow, wreaths of hop cones laid upon them in turn. The mourners waited for the diggers to finish. The digging was tough, for the ground was frozen. As the crunch and thud of picks and shovels continued, the dead miner's foreman scrambled onto a boulder to make a speech. Angry shouts and loud booing stopped him.
You knew it! You knew they'd smell vapors, but you ordered them to keep digging till it blew up in their faces!
Make the daily quota whatever the cost, eh?
You've blood on your mitts, whore son!
A mourner then picked up a chunk of frozen ground and threw it at the foreman. Blood spurted from the gash that appeared on his forehead. The first dirt chunk was followed by another, then by a rock, a brick. Meve realized that if she did not intervene, the foreman stood to be stoned to death. Something had to be done quickly. Meve saw this clearly. She spurred her mount and rode into the cemetery, pushing through the throng, then stopping before the foreman, the horse shielding him from further blows.
Calm yourselves! Silence! His guilt cannot be decided here. It must!
Before Meve could finish her plea, a large rock thrown from the crowd struck her bosom, nearly knocking her from her saddle. Upon seeing this, her Lyrian escort lowered spears and drew swords and rushed at the angry mourners.
Shino Kren!
Isbel cried out. Her hands began to radiate a fierce light that blinded both dwarves and Lyrians alike.
Have you lost your minds, all of you together? Not had your fill of misfortune yet? Lower your arms at once.
Whether the power of Isbel's magic or the force of her appeal had the greater effect is difficult to say for certain. Either way, both sides suddenly lost the desire to fight. Meve breathed a sigh of relief, aware that if not for Isbel's intervention, a great amount of blood would have been spilled at that cemetery.
Fight to my last breath.
You must sweat like a swine in that jacket.
I smell a leak. My pain serves a purpose. You mad? Don't shake that!
Discipline shall bring us victory!
I fear not, for faith guides me.
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch.
Should have listened to me old lady.
Not supposed to be any smoke.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to die.
All right, that's no problem.
Don't like this.
The Lyrians ascended the highest section of the Mahakam Range. Snow crunched under their boots, cold air stung their lungs, and the wind snapped at their cloaks. Meve wiped sweat from her brow and turned to Reynard.
There! By the rocks! We shall...
The rest of her words were drowned out by a powerful blast. The entire mountain rumbled with a low, vibrating roar. The sound grew louder, echoing off the rocks, splitting their ears. The Lyrians looked around, disoriented. Few heard Gabor's warning.
Dinna just stand there! Get behind the rock! Quick! Hurry!
Meve followed the dwarf's gaze and cried out in terror. The snow stuck to the mountainside had started to slide down the slope, sending up mists of icy dust. Before she could react, the white torrent knocked her to her knees, crushing her and smothering her into the ground. All she felt after that was all-encompassing cold and fear. Meve survived. The dwarves who ran to the Lyrians' rescue dug her out of the snow in time. Some of her soldiers were not so lucky. The Queen looked at their bodies, blue, frozen. Next to them lay dead horses, demolished wagons. The losses were enormous. Meve wiped her cheek. Her tears burned her frozen skin. Gabor spoke a while with the leader of the Mahakam Guard Patrol that had come to their rescue. His face was dour.
What? What have you learned?
I tell you all in good time. First, you need a warm drink, good victuals.
No, Gabor. I need to find out what in blazes happened here.
Well, it was an avalanche.
Of course it was an avalanche. I'm no fool. But what caused it? What was that noise?
Signal horns. Ours.
So you brought this snow down on us? Dwarves!
Well, aye, but, unawares.
Explain, in brief.
See, we clean our mount regularly. The way menfolk shovel snow off their roofs. Otherwise, the whole shebang would come tumbling down on our heads. When snow's gathered deep enough, we blast our horns to cause a controlled avalanche. Then we need to, sweep up a wee bit and the road's safe.
All well and good, but why did you decide to clean up right as I was passing through?
I'm wondering that myself. Schedule says next cleaning should have been a week from now. But someone asked the route to be cleared earlier.
Who?
Meve, I'll tell you. But first, promise you'll...
Who?
Hey. Owain ep Clenvog, the Nilfgaardian emissary. Think it were meant as revenge for attacking their caravan.
The bastard. Reynard! Reynard!
Wait! Wait! I understand you're a wee bit upset, you've every right. But you'll never prove Owain meant you harm. The sly weasel will make sure he didn't dirty his own paws.
I've no such scruples. I'll find him and kill him.
And then? How'd you tell that tale to Brewer? Meve, you're justly taught, but for the love, just this once, let it go. Or you'll leave Mahakam with me a scrap to show for it.
Moments later, scouts reported Owain was camped to the north of the accident site. Meve had to decide how much she was willing to risk to get her revenge on the Imperial emissary.
By the Elder Sideburns, I'd no notion anyone was in the Vale.
There, my lady,
whispered one of the scouts.
Left of the path.
Meve squinted. The Nilfgaardians had taken shelter from the falling snow under a rocky outcropping. The smell of roasting meat wafted from their campfire, and echoes of laughter could be heard. The black-clad soldiers had reason to celebrate. They had just decimated Meve's company without even drawing their weapons. Meve's gaze caught something else. A metal container into which the Nilfgaardians tossed bones once they'd been gnawed clean. It looked strangely familiar. Only after a moment did the Queen understand it was an overturned Lyrian helmet dug out of the snowy grave of one of her men.
The Horsens.
Meve hissed.
They'll pay for this.
Meve! Asking you last time, keep a cool head,
whispered Gabor.
You want vengeance? I get it. But think of the cost. If so much as a hair gets plucked from Owain's head, Brewer will never forgive you, and you can kiss any hope of aid goodbye.
Silence followed, finally to be broken by one of the scouts.
Milady, what's the order? Do we attack?
Await my signal.
The Queen stepped out from behind the rocks, put a hand to her mouth, and yelled,
Owain! Owain at Clenvog!
All laughter stopped in the Nilfgaardian camp. Moments later, a sumptuously dressed man stepped in front of the wagons. He wiped a thick sauce from his lips, then bowed with an exaggerated courtly flourish.
Queen, my condolences. That avalanche. Oh, what an unfortunate turn of events.
The mountains can be unpredictable,
Meve said with a shrug.
Accidents can happen at any time.
Oh, Yes?
Even right now.
Meve leapt towards the emissary, placed 2 hands on his neck, and hurled him into a rock with all her might. The Nilfgaardian's head slammed against the stone, and his skull crumpled with a sickening crash. He fell to the ground and writhed a few final tremors.
Attack!
Meve roared.
Take no prisoners!
Gethan Kwan and Lyrian!
You'll never take me alive!
You must sweat like a swine in that jacket.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Life is mine now!
Take no prisoners!
Watch your heads!
Fear not! We shall achieve our goal!
Not supposed to be any smoke.
Sounds aplenty.
Catch!
Wise choice.
To reap, a time to sow, a time to die.
Of course, as you wish, master.
listen to the old lady.
That was not in the spell books.
This artist will be reaping black-clad heads.
Notice! All roads lead to Nilfgaard!
Sod it. Sod it all.
Order will triumph! It must triumph!
We should not have done this.
Meve showed no mercy for the Nilfgaardians in Owain ep Clenvog's camp. All would share their leader's fate. And the dwarves? As predicted, they were outraged by Meve's open attack on the Nilfgaardian emissary. Bruva Hoog suddenly called for a council of the clan elders. They debated what to do with the Lyrians for a long time. The elders, outraged the Queen had once again defied their principle of neutrality, levied a punishing financial penalty, and threatened another such incident would result in a lifetime ban from entering the Dwarven Kingdom. While passing the mining settlement of Kolstock, Meve heard the sounds of battle.
Hey-ho! Into the fray, lads!
Expecting she would see monsters swarming dwarves, the Queen set off at a gallop to the rescue. Her braid blew about in the wind like a banner, showing her men in which direction to attack. The dwarves she saw, however, were not engaged in a battle against Shaelmars and Barbigazes. No, they were going at one another. Luckily, no weapons had yet been drawn, but given the dwarves have hands the size of bread loaves, this did not necessarily mean there would be no deaths.
Oi, lads!
Roared Gabor Zigrin.
What's this foolishness? Calm the hell down, damn it!
Gabor's intervention proved successful. The dwarves limited themselves to verbal jousting. Meve, who was no stranger to barrack room talk, nonetheless turned crimson at the dwarves' cursing. Piecing together the obscenities, Meve concluded they were debating an old quarrel about the height of a certain mountain, or rather of the twin peaks atop it. One of them lay in the territory of Clan Dahlberg, while the other in the Hoogs land. Each family felt their peak was the highest, all measurements indicating the contrary being total fabrications.
Queen?
Started Gabor, nervously chewing his moustache.
They're asking if you, as yin impartial and a fair-minded wench to boot, wouldn't wish to settle their Egypt squabble once and for all?
Meve knew well that this type of age-old quarrel could easily end in bloodshed, so she resolved to help. Representatives of the two clans gave her a strange mechanism she was to use to measure elevation. All that was left was for the Queen to button her coat up to the neck and scale the twin peaks.
Time to end this delicate feud, once and for all.
When she and her force had traveled half the way to the first, she heard a long roar that made snow shells detach and descend. Without waiting for her scouts to return with reports, Meve drew her sword.
Enough chit-chat. Draw your weapons.
To reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Eyes up, lads! They're flying straight for us!
As ordered.
The knight should help. Our codex commands it.
You mad? Don't shake that!
Her Majesty is exceptional.
This could hurt.
Wait, you're serious?
Quite the clever little contraption they gave us. Work of a gnome, of course. Not supposed to be any smoke.
For you, pal! Anything.
Aye.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. Go, pop, pop.
Take those measurements and let's be gone from this place.
The Lyrians managed to repel the monsters and reach both peaks. Upon each, Meve ordered her men to take the measurements. While waiting, she admired the breathtaking view of the Mahakaman Massif. The dwarven contraption left no room for doubt. The peak within the Dahlberg clan territory was 2 feet higher than that within Hoog territory. Gabor was clearly displeased with the results.
Damn it all! I'd hoped you'd prove Brewer's clan was in the right. He'd have been content to see the Dahlbergs knocked down a peg or two, and, possibly, he'd have been more inclined to help you,
said the dwarf in frustration. Then, after a pause, he added,
Although, only you saw what the device showed, Queen. Perhaps you could, recalibrate the results a wee bit?
'Tis most lowly and ignoble.
Ake cried out in protest.
A knight his honor would never stain with such a lie.
To lie would be simple, true.
Said Meve.
Yet to forget the matter would be so much harder. No, Gabor, I shall tell the truth.
The Queen's tone made it clear the discussion was over. Gabor let the matter lie, and Meve's force began its descent down the mountainside. The dwarves of both clans had been waiting with bated breath for the expedition's return and report. As soon as Meve announced the results, the Dahlbergs rolled barrels of beer out into the square and began to celebrate. Naturally, the Hoogs were disappointed, yet they accepted Meve's results as final. At last, they had come to trust her.
Frostbite, you'd best avail yourself of some onion juice. Even better if you had a nip of vodka.
As Meve neared Langbridge, she ordered her bugler to announce her arrival, then retired to her tent to freshen up. Gascon was already inside, awaiting her.
I do not seem to recall summoning you.
In that case, I must tell you to fret not. Nothing wrong with your memory. I've come with no agenda. Spontaneously, call it, to chat.
Then I propose you leave. Just as spontaneously, call it. I must don fresh clothes. I'm to see the Elder soon, and I'd prefer to not smell of horse sweat.
Doubt it'd make much difference to him. And be assured, I know what I speak of. When last we met, I found myself standing downwind of him. A pungent experience.
Well, you were saved the experience of his breath. So pungent I thought I might faint.
Well, to revive you, pinch you awake, I'm sure would be quite a pleasure.
Gascon, I beg your pardon. Ugh, I shall have nightmares now.
Not tonight. For I fear you might not sleep at all. You see, there's something you ought to know. And decidedly before you meet with Brewer. The sites we cleared of beasts, I ferreted a bit. Noted something peculiar. Any notion what it was?
None. The monumental dwarven architecture, perhaps?
Bones, my dear Meve. Dwarven bones. Now, guess what I found on them?
Wait, don't dare give me any hints. Bite marks.
Of course. After all, they'd been gnawed clean of all flesh by monsters, incidentally making it quite easy to spot other markings. Ones made by axes and swords. To be certain, I showed the bones to our medics, and they confirmed my conclusion.
Meaning what? That the entire clan, the Fuchses,
did not perish due to an invasion of beasts from the depths. The monsters merely ate the bodies and occupied empty homes. Now, I shared my discovery with Gabor, and guess what he did? He panicked. He started to squirm, babble nonsense. I wager my right arm, he's hiding something.
Blast. Overly eager to aid us from the start he was. I might have sent something. I shall have him summoned at once. And I thank you, Gascon. I won't forget this.
Minutes later, Gabor stood before the Queen. At first, he tried to mislead her with evasive answers, but as her pointed questions demolished one clumsy excuse after another, he had to give in.
Oi. As King Desmond said after a hefty squirt in his hose, we can't sweep this under the rug.
If you think I welcome jests in this moment, you err. My fingers itch to summon the hangman.
Right. So... 'tis true. I misled you. On our clan elder's orders, supposed to make sure you destroyed Burr's Rump and Davor's Abyss thoroughly enough to leave nae a trace.
What? Why? What did they wish to hide?
They was home to the Fuchses, our mortal enemies. They'd been a-boiling our heinies for ages, thumbing their noses, taking what they want, when they want. And the Elder-in-Chief didn't gie a ploughing whit. So to stop them, our clan, we did the unpardonable. The Ziggurin elders saw their chance and they...
Gods. So you were responsible for the deaths of all those dwarves?
Me? I didn't raise a finger. Tried to stop them, in fact.
No witnesses survived, meaning you must have murdered the entire clan. How?
Queen, you sure you...
I am. And you should be sure to answer in full, omitting no detail.
A few years back, we got pummeled by a horrendous winter. Stone-breaking frosts, whiteout storms, avalanches. We'd travel in a painful form of suicide. Hunger drove beasts out of their dens. Pass was covered in the filth. Got to where they paced right outside the walls. Fuchses fought a hard, bloody fight to keep the critters out of Davor's Abyss. Lost near every axe-wielding dwarf they had. Only survivors had to winter at Burr's Rump. Our elders felt such an opportunity wouldn't knock again. After killing the town's meagre guard, they set fire to it and barricaded the gates. They didn't stand a chance.
Bastards. How in the world did the truth go undiscovered?
Once it were over, our dwarves opened the gates. Before they'd lit their pipes, starving beasts came crawling out of the pass. The stank of dead flesh was strong. Zigrins who came back from that never were the same. If you'd only gandered their gaze when they had us all take a vow of silence. And then...
You invented that blarney about primeval monstrosities the Fuchses had awoken by mining too deep. A riveting tale, and one with a moral to boot.
Aye. But the elders worried Bruver would suspect something all the same. That's why they wanted you to destroy all the evidence.
Repugnant. You claim not to have taken part, but neither did you do anything to stop the massacre.
What was I to do exactly? The elders had decided. Nae a dwarf would listen to me.
You might have informed the Elder-in-Chief. The guilty would have been punished.
The guilty? You didn't ken Bruver. He'd punish the whole clan. Women, children, nae exceptions. Meve, Queen, I'm begging you. He canna ever learn of this. Aye, I want a hack flame too when I think what the Elder's done. But t'other way it'd bring but more pain and death.
You've got a lot of nerve, making requests after lying to me.
Trying to ensure you ken the stakes. But you'll do as you see fit. Like always.
I need to consider what's right. Meanwhile, Gascon, make sure Gabor remains our guest.
Of course. I'll let you know if he so much as rolls his eyes towards an escape route.
Bruver stood by the bridge like a statue, arms crossed, eyes squinting. Meve sighed inside. She stood little chance of having a pleasant chat.
Elder-in-Chief, sir.
No Sharon and Grayson here, lass. Ploughing humans. Always out to fix things, always end up cocking them up. You think you're due glory, do you? Monster Slayer Meve? Patroness of dwarves? Blast it. What do you think? Why didn't I exterminate those beasts myself, eh? Go on, tell me!
For you...
For I didn't want to. For something didn't fit, damn it. So I resolved to not destroy their nests and evidence till I learned the truth of whodunit.
Postponed it all those years expressly. Though your subjects were dying.
I dinna need no lectures from the likes of you. Justice must be served. That's worth any price. And I was close. Had leads. And now, it's all gone to hell. You flooded Devor's abyss. You brought Burrow's rump down on itself. And I'll never ken who killed the Fuchses. Understand? Never!
My sincere apologies. I did not know.
Course you didna. Humans. First they cock it up, then they ask how it works. Ah, I'm most eager to give that braid of yours a yank and kick you out beyond the gate. But I canna, for the clans are grateful to you. Fools. Fools. All fools. They forced me to give you an audience, official like, with witnesses, all at the foot of Mount Carbon. Come on then, time to move on. But I'm going to wring you out so hard you'll wish you never left that Nilfgaardian dungeon.
Bruver set off at a brisk pace, cursing under his breath. The Queen took a deep breath, counted to 5 in her head, and set off after him.
Wanted to hunt monsters, eh?
Dwarves demonstrate innovative thinking in many domains. Metallurgy, engineering, architecture. Yet there is one in which they could not be bothered. Naming. For this reason, the bridge that linked the Mahakam Pass with Mount Carbon was simply named Langbridge. Meve learned it was a thoroughly fitting name. Having stopped for a breath halfway across the road suspended over a deep chasm, the Queen could see neither end of the bridge, both concealed by thick clouds.
Amazing.
Whispered the Queen.
I feel as though we traversed the very sky.
The Queen and her retinue were nearing Mount Carbon when Meve heard a cry. It was Xavier.
Hold! Hold!
Meve drew in her reins abruptly. Her mare neighed and reared, lifting the Queen above her formation of men. From that height, she saw the last pier of the bridge crumbling. The dwarves at the head of the procession were unable to stop in time and plummeted, screaming into the abyss.
What's the meaning of this, gods damn it?
Bruver roared.
Fetch the engineers! Now!
The Queen was striving to calm her spooked mount when she sensed something swish past her ear. Out of nowhere, a Scoia'tael band had appeared at the rear of the column. Before anyone could react, elven archers had felled the rear guard. The soldiers lay on the bridge's stone surface with arrows in their backs. Meve was trapped. In one direction lay the chasm, in the other, a fierce foe. She had no choice but to stand and fight.
You are mine!
We're trapped, Your Grace, but we can try and fight our way through. Discipline shall bring us victory!
Cursed traitors.
For Demavend!
Show me the coin or sod off.
I recognize the colours. They belong to Eldain.
think you ballbags can do whatever the devils you please? This is Mahakam!
As ordered.
Feel any burning? See a local healer or wise woman?
I smell a leak.
Dwambe Chaos.
Got business for me?
Could murder a pint.
Should have listened to me old lady.
To humans!
May your sword and arm be one.
None shall tread on us!
Ryan!
She must die!
Their strength combined, the Lyrians and dwarves managed to defeat the Scoia'tael. The guerrillas had weakened the last span of the bridge, turning the crossing into a deadly trap. Had Xavier, who noticed the weakened structure at the last instant, not called out, all would have fallen into the chasm. The Lyrians managed to capture the unit commander. She stood, her head raised high, and when Meve glared at her, she did not avert her eyes.
What is your name, elf?
Abayeth meta parstwan.
She said,
Thank you, Reynard. I know well what she said. Kiss my arse, is that truly the best you can muster?
I'd rather show you exactly what I can muster. Tell them to unbind me.
You got your opportunity. On the battlefield. Will you not tell me what they call you? Fine. It's all the same to me. I'm more interested to know how you came to be here. Who sent you?
No one. It was my decision to kill you, and thus avenge Eldain. Do you remember him? The elf whom you denied a burial? Whom you left in an open field to rot? You've elven blood on your hands. The blood of the elves of the Moulderwood.
I regret the events of the Moulderwood. I did not wish those elves' deaths. Yet they left me no choice.
What choice would you give a murderer who invaded your home?
You know I envy you. To see the world solely as black or white, it must simplify things so. Enough. I've heard all I wish to hear.
But I haven't. Did you fall on your heed, elf, eh? If you want to fight humans, go on and do it. You cannot talk sense to idiots and nae here, damn it. Mahakam is and will be neutral.
You cannot be neutral. To Dwan, you are either their foe or their dog. Mahakam has stood aside, sleeping long enough. That is why we struck it in its very heart, as a call to battle. A call to brethren whom you, Elder, have kept from the world too long.
I have kept him away. I've been bloody right to do so. You want to play at war, you numpties? You want to force the Pontar to flow upstream? Gang right ahead. Good riddance, I say. Gan kill, gan die if you fancy. But God's damn it, leave us alone. Yeah, I should kill you. With my own hands. I should cut your throat, put you out of your misery. That's what you want, innit? To die? To die a stupid death? Well, I'll not grant you that. Nay, nay, I'll lock you in a tower. Sit there 3 centuries, and you just might grow a brain.
Bruva Hoog gazed after the shackled elf as she was led away. Meve expected him to continue fuming, cursing her. But the dwarf stood silent, and his old eyes, half concealed by brows bushy as a forest floor, showed not anger, but the deepest sadness. Dwarven engineers made quick work of repairing the crumbled bridge span.
Look, Mount Carbon.
Damn! And I thought Novigrad was big.
So the elves are against us. Against...
The Lyrians stepped inside Mount Carbon's bowels. Meve rode while looking upwards, admiring the intricately carved ceiling, gilded walls, monumental bas-reliefs carved from basalt. Yet this was no time to admire the sights. Bruva Hoog had summoned her to speak.
I thank you for your invitation, Elder.
My invitation? Choice term, lass. You wangled your way in here. Long I've lived, but ne'er have I seen a wench so stubborn.
With all due respect, do you not feel like a pot conversing with a kettle?
Ha! True enough. Changes of mind dinna come easy to me. But they do come at times. Human wars. concern me not at all. For so many they are, who could count them? Near a year goes by without one wanking king invading another's realm. A dog with scabies is less restless. That's why, this morning, I aimed to send you off with nothing. Mattered not what the clans were saying. Rivia, Schmivia, who gives a sheep's fart? But that was this morn, before that daft wench and her pups attacked. Nilfgaard supports the Scoia'tael, it's common knowledge. Nilfgaard uses them. Well, I'm nae worse, and I choose to use Queen Meve.
I shall be no one's tool, Broover. I fight for my land and my land alone. Lyria and Rivia.
Ah, keep your head. You can fight for a free warfield, far as I'm concerned. Doesn't matter. My aid doesn't come with conditions. Like to give Nilfgaard a warning, you ken? If you're going to rile my dwarves, throw them into the Scoia'tael ranks. You'll regret it, eh? But I'd like to issue the warning without declaring war. All clear to you so far? So, when you march out of Mahakam, you'll find a company of our foot dwarves waiting out with the gate. Officially, volunteers enlisting with you against my will. And you're to put them at the fore next time you face Nilfgaard. Want the Blackclads to break their teeth on our bucklers, get a taste of our axe blades. After that, dare say they'll think twice before they send more Scoia'tael into these hells.
I do not... Thank you, Elder. You restore my hope that I shall have my home back in the end.
Candid like, I dinna share your faith. I've watched you. You're naive. Let ire take you. Meddle in matters near your own. Disrespect our custom. But you win or nay, it's all the same to me.
Then I hope that I shall at least surprise you.
Honestly doubt that. So you'll only get the bare minimum recruits to make the Imperials take note, and nae a dwarf more.
And for that I am grateful. But now, I would like to march at once. So by your leave...
Go right! Now if you can! Quicker you get out of our mount, the better.
Without waiting for Meve's reply, Broover turned his back to her. The Queen left without saying a word. There were few choice ones burned on her lips. Meve was on her way back to her company when who should step in front of her if not Gabor?
To what do I owe this pleasure? Do the Zigrins wish to use me once more? Accomplish aught else with my aid?
Could be, but if so, tain't none of my concern.
Why's that?
For I've resolved to leave Mahakam for all time.
And where will you go?
Dinna ken. Wherever you lead me.
I beg your pardon.
Your Grace. Meve. I betrayed your trust. Tricked you outright. In spite of that, you kept my confidence. Risking everything. To say I'm grateful is just a wee understatement. I'm indebted to you. Deeply so. Please let me pay it off. Let me fight at your side. Heed to hip with you.
Gabor, vindictive I am not.
Oh, thank you, Meve.
Yet neither am I stupid. You may join our ranks, I agree. Yet trick me once more, in the tiniest manner, and I shall show you no mercy. Is that clear?
Chastened, Gabor merely nodded to confirm. Meve extended her hand for the dwarf to kiss as a sign of submission. Yet he simply wrapped his arms around her waist and squeezed. The Lyrians were ready to leave Mahakam when they heard the sonorous blast of a commander's horn announcing the arrival of Broover Hoog.
Oh, what does he want now?
When she saw a sour grin on his face, Meve knew the tidings were not good. But what she heard next exceeded her wildest expectations.
Come to say farewell? No need, truly.
Came 'cause I got a burning question. Meve, you expecting anyone?
How's that?
Runner says a delegation's arrived at Carmen. Frae Lyria and Rivia. Got a Nilfgaardian escort.
How dare they? Traitors. Who leads it?
You'd best sit.
Who leads the delegation?
It's your son. Willem, I fear.
Willem?
Mahakam remains neutral as regards all your squabbles. I trust I needn't remind you. So I'll have no scrambling or shoving, and certainly no bloodshed. Point of fact, I'd prefer it if you...
I wish to speak to him.
I'd forbid you, but, as I said, never seen a more stubborn wench. Alrighty then, jabber away with him. Just remember, hands to yourself.
Meve spotted banners, a Lyrian eagle upon one surrounded by Nilfgaard's black rags. Her hands became fists, showing how helpless she felt. Then her son and rival, Willem, emerged from behind a row of Imperial footmen.
My. I should apologize. It seems I missed the coronation. Congratulations, my son. Who was it who placed the crown? General Ebdahi?
Count Caldwell.
Ah, yes. Our elder statesman. Why have you come here, of all places? To acquire arms for Nilfgaard?
As my official mission, yes. Yet unofficially, I wish to speak with you. I trust you've had tidings from the field. Edirn turned to ash and dust. Vizimir murdered Redania in chaos. Foltest forced to strike a pact by his vassals betrayed, Henselt the same.
This limerick, will it come to a point?
Why, yes. To the same as this war. Mother, I beg you, you must see it. Nilfgaard's victory is inevitable. Surrender now, and I shall show you mercy. For later it'll be too late.
There will be no later. We shall repel them, drive them south at the points of our pikes.
This we, Mother? Who precisely do you mean? You stand alone.
An impression many might have indeed. Yet I've allies. Those long loyal, and those new.
Where, Mother? In Zerrikania? For here, in the north, why, there are none. The fight is done.
Your friends from Nilfgaard will learn that is simply not true, when their ignorance bites them in the arse.
So you aim to persist? Whatever for?
For our freedom. For independence.
Curious. I could have sworn it was for your ambition, to soothe your wounded pride. When I was crowned, a fact you deride, though that makes it no less true, I swore the good of my subjects would guide me. And a war we are doomed to lose cannot in any way benefit them.
And slavery can. You know well the Blackclads put peasants in chains, like cattle.
Reprehensible, I agree, but...
And resettlement? Forced labour? Cruel laws that make death the punishment for the slightest offences? Are those benefits? Well, answer me!
I see I will not sway you, Mother. A shame, though I take comfort in the fact I tried. And now, adieu.
Oh no, I, not you, will decide when this conversation is over.
Oh, have we anything else to discuss?
Are you perhaps aware that the Nilfgaardians tried to kill me?
What? No, I heard only about an avalanche.
Which tumbled down through no small effort of an Imperial envoy.
Never would I have agreed to such a heinous act.
I believe you.
I'm heartened that, despite all we...
I believe you because I believe the Nilfgaardians wouldn't ever have asked your opinion. Think on it, son. Are you their ally or their tool? Can you ever be sure?
I am the king of Lyria and Rivia. To serve my subjects' best interests, I am prepared to make even the most painful concessions. Might I leave now? Or is there more?
Naturally. How did you know you would find me here?
I received Nilfgaardian reports to the effect that you've been seen in the pass.
Oh, roses are red and so are your cheeks, my son. As ever when you're caught in a lie. Lyria is 2 weeks' travel hence. Had you received word only once I was here, we'd have been long gone from Mahakam by the time you assembled a force and completed the march. No. You were forewarned of our intended route. It means I've a traitor in my ranks. Another one. Get out of my sight, villain. And pray we only ever face one another on neutral ground.
Meve struggled inside not to turn and gaze once more at her son. He'd changed since they'd last faced each other, grown manlier, and he wore the crown well. The Queen returned to her company. Her advisors shot her questioning glances, curious what she had discussed with Bruver. But Meve decided to keep the details to herself. One of them wore a Nilfgaardian lead around his neck. Until she knew who, she would have to remain vigilant.
Time to march on. But in which direction?
I've thought on it, Your Grace. We've strength enough to hit the foe, but still not the numbers to face him in open battle.
So what do you propose?
This war we cannot win alone, nor even with the dwarves at our side. But if we secure a victory, small yet symbolic, we shall show the other realms of the north all is not yet lost. Thus, I propose we attack behind the front lines, somewhere well clear of any major Imperial force.
Where would you suggest?
I'm considering Angren. To begin with, a thickly wooded marshy land, always helpful in clandestine operations. Secondly, the land's strategically important, as it's the chief source of building material for Nilfgaard's fleets.
All too little, I fear. Since we require a victory that would be symbolic, we must strike where it shall hurt. And Angren
just recently welcomed a new regent, in the person of Count Coldwell. My third argument. Naturally, if your Majesty wishes, I'm prepared to present alternatives to this.
No need. We march at dawn.
Meve had toiled, cajoled, persuaded, and gained the dwarves' support. She left Mahakam strengthened, markedly. Even so, the Queen was in a foul mood. For it was clear a traitor, a viper, nested among the Lyrians. Someone who had conveyed the Queen's plans to her foe. From this moment on, Meve would need to weigh every word she uttered, even in the presence of her closest associates.
Your Grace, we must plot our course forward. Shall we take the western passage into Angren, or...
Not now.
When, then? Dawn approaches, yet we know nothing of where...
I will not repeat myself.
The Queen knew she would learn the traitor's identity in the end. If need be, she would tear the name from the throat of another turncoat, Count Coldwell. Meve drooled at the prospect of seeing Coldwell in chains, then passing him to the hangman.
Saddle the horses. I shall take the fall.
The time for diplomacy, for preparations and negotiations had gone. Meve was to attack her foe at last, and she could not wait to do so. At long last, Meve's force reached Angren's marshy woods. Ever been? No? Count yourselves lucky.
Are you certain we haven't lost our way?
Alas, here there is no way. We continue south, that's all.
South meaning the bottom.
Should you ever venture there, I offer you this advice. Do your utmost to make no noise. Poor soul. His comrades cried out, reached out, but alas, amidst frothing waters they heard bones cracking, the moan of metal bent and crushed.
What the... bloody hell, what was that?
Rather not know, personally.
Hold your positions! Arms at the ready!
It was a glusty war. One of many the Lyrians would encounter along their path. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. At last, Meve and her force stood upon the Yaruga's bank. To find and punish the traitor Coldwell, they would have to cross the river. Yet the sole bridge nearby was in Nilfgaard's hands.
Your Majesty, some new reports require your attention.
I'm pleased to see you again, Mom. You need something?
Duty calls. I must go.
Of course. Should you need me, I'll be here.
Yes, Your Grace?
Reynard, you fought in the first war against Nilfgaard, did you not?
Yes, Your Grace. Though, as a mere captain then.
Were they equally cruel? Did they scorch fields, turn peasants into slaves?
No, Your Grace. They fought with honor in those days.
So, what's happened? Why the change?
It's said Emperor Emir var Emrys's heart hardened over the years. He's grown crueler, more ruthless. His soldiers' zeal for violence has followed suit.
But you don't say that.
No, Your Grace.
To your mind, Why do they now despise us as they war against us?
'Tis ever easier to loathe those you know. Before the first war, they knew nothing about us. Then they saw they'd the better weapons, larger cities, superior craft. That in our towns, waste flowed through the streets in open gutters, and they concluded we weren't their equals. It's far easier to kill when one holds such a belief.
It's time I attended to other matters.
Hey-ho, how's my favourite queen in the north?
Ever have regrets? Feel remorse?
For what?
Oh, I don't know. Killing innocents, perhaps? Murdering travellers, pilgrims?
I've always warned them. Won't touch a hair on your heads, provided you don't resist. So, see, gave them a choice. Besides, innocents? Please, Meve. We both know those to be mythical creatures. Everyone's got something on their conscience.
So there's always call for murder?
That's right. Dead right. You need but answer it.
It's time I attended to other matters. Farewell.
Always good to see the Queen. How can I help you?
We haven't had a chance to speak since we left Mahakam. Why join us? Or decide to leave your homeland, for that matter?
As I said, I was in your debt. Still am.
You're a dwarf of honour, I'm pleased. But not entirely convinced 'twas reason enough for you to leave your clan.
Not about to let me off easy, are you? All right. I may have been motivated elsewise.
By a guilty conscience?
The horridness with the Fuchses. All that blood and mud. It went too far. I tried to talk it out with the elders. They'd brushed me aside like a wee bairn. But that weren't the whole of it. I saw the shite dwarves living in your cities go through. Thought I'd forget once I came home. Got back to dealing with my own problems. Only... can't I forget something like that? I've got to help. Any way I can. Nothing would come of my sitting on my arse in Mahakam.
I understand, Gabor. And I know you'll find a way to help. We shall return to this conversation later.
No skin off my back. We seeing each other, your grace.
Yes, milady?
I haven't had the opportunity to thank you. Had you not been so alert, we'd have fallen to our deaths in Mahakam.
I merely did my duty, Your Majesty.
Modest as ever. Yet once the war is over, I shall make certain you're properly rewarded.
My lady, the one reward I desire is victory. Your victory.
Other matters await my attention. We shall speak later.
As you wish, my lady.
You need my help with anything? Anything at all. I've ideas aplenty.
Ever travelled with an army before?
Frankly, can't say that I have. You folk are my first. And let me say, it's not nearly as dull as I expected. Your travelling companions, fascinating. Truly.
Is that so? Who, if I might ask?
Let me think. Well, Rayla, a charming lass. So sweet. Asked if she'd help me test out the Skylicker too. She immediately offered to shove me off the nearest cliff. Then there's that aged woman. Isabel, is it? Oh, your grace, a complete lunatic, that one. Did you know she believes the world to be round? Round! Like an egg! And just between the two of us, the quiet chap, Xavier, gives me the willies, truth be told. Could just be on account of his face looking like a piece of taffy stuck to the sole of a boot. Who else? Oh, right, a word of advice. Never play Gascon at cards. He's a hustler, that one. And he tells tall tales. About debts, specifically. Ones that I supposedly owe him. And the Reynard fellow. What a jester. Always good for a laugh.
I'm sorry, what?
Every day he barks at me, stand at attention, with a perfectly straight face. And last, he asked if I'd served in the Norm Army. I mean, really. Sometimes I just can't with that man.
Very thorough, Barnabas. I thank you. Time I attended to other matters.
Ah, yes, you're still here. Off you go, then.
Yes?
To see Scoia'tael in Mahakam, I was quite surprised. To see them attack their own.
Their own? Ha! They hate humans, sure, but those non-humans who won't join in their struggle, they hate far more. Collaborators, they call them. Traitors to their races. Murder them in cold blood to make others join out of fear. Only way to replenish their ranks, truth be told.
I'm led to think we may owe the Scoia'tael more compassion. Seems so many enlisted under duress that...
Hold, madam, truly? And how would you tell those from the others, who grasp their weapons willingly? Those whose hearts have turned black from sheer hatred?
I know not for certain, but to question them might be a start.
Ha! And what? Think you'd hear the truth from them? From elves? No. Exceptions are a clear road to human blood spilt. All Scoia'tael must die. Leave the gods to sort the wheat from the chaff.
Something I could never agree to. Collective responsibility on all their fighters. I couldn't assign it.
That's your right as a queen. Fortunately, King Demavend has other principles. One's closer to my own.
I must go. We'll speak later.